It's about 11:50. Anybody have any updates on what's going on in their business that they want to share with the group? Any needs that you guys have? Updates?
It's a very quiet group today.
Yeah.
I will say that I park underneath the, well, this is kind of a little depressing story, but I park underneath the Civic Center. And when I was pulling in today, a guy was like moving some orange cones and I said, hi. And he goes, hey, and he goes, I'm here to get fired. I said, what? And he said that they were laying off all of their staff today. The Chamber of Commerce.
Really?
No.
I mean, not Chamber of Commerce. I'm sorry. I retract. The convention center, the El Paso Convention Center is laying off 80% of their workforce today. It made me really sad. It's so quiet, and my car's like the only car that parks below there now.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so we have to get back. We have to get conventions. We have to start filling hotels. We need to start, I mean, going to restaurants, supporting our locals. We've got to start the economy. Can't wait around for the word. You know, we need to start getting out there. Mask or no mask, we have to start pumping money into our economy here in El Paso.
Yeah, Laura, how we do it safely is just a big question, right?
Yeah, it's easy to wear a mask. We can do it.
Yeah, I agree.
Do it
Wash your
safely.
hands, common sense. I mean, you know, wash your hands and get out there. I'm going to mute out though, so that I'm not like overbearing this meeting here.
Great points, Laura. Thank you. What else we got? Well, it's about 11:51. Cindy, what do you think? Should we get started on the agenda, or should we
Miss
give?
Jeanette, our timekeeper, our agenda lady. 11:55. Yeah,
Let's get going. Is Ted ready?
he's not going to join us till right at noon. He's got back-to-back presentations, one in Chicago that's going to end right at the noon hour. So
Oh my
he'll be
goodness.
a little bit.
Okay.
late.
Well, we can do everything else in the meantime.
Okay. Perfect. We'll go ahead and get started. Let's see. I'm gonna mute everybody. So if you guys have any comments to make, you can unmute yourself, or you could, like I said, you can send a message directly to either myself, Miguel, or whoever it is that you need to communicate with. Actually, Miguel, can you help me by muting everybody? I'm sharing my screen. So. Okay, so first, just kind of, this is, you know, our first virtual meeting. So for your settings, you should be on the speaker view. That'll allow you to see the presentations. And again, the messages are at the bottom center of your screen. If you have any troubleshooting issues, if you can't hear us, if you can't see something clearly, if you can't get the presentation or whatever, please message Miguel Fraga or the El Paso CCIM account on here, so that he can walk you through whatever needs to be tweaked on your system, so that you can be a full participant here on this meeting. I want to welcome everybody. Obviously, thank you for joining us for our first attempt at an online gathering. I'm Memo Sotomayor, CCIM, your Greater El Paso CCIM chapter president for 2020. I ask that you please bear with me as I try to toggle between my notes and managing the screen. So thank you in advance for your patience. Now, as kind of Laura was alluding to right now, and as we're all dealing with, there's just so much going on in the world today that has affected our way of life and undoubtedly our businesses. You know, in these tumultuous times, I think it's more important than ever to have the proper support and community to lift each other up and overcome the challenges in front of us. I'm honored to be part of an organization that has led the way in commercial real estate in that regard. I hope that all of you are members of National CCIM and are aware of the many things that they're doing on a national level to support us as we try to navigate these unprecedented times. They've offered, you know, from discounted support features to increased use of online teaching and services. The organization, to me, has really proven to be a truly valuable organization for its members and really focused on how they can add value to us as members. And so hopefully you guys are all members at the national level as well as here at the local level. Today, we are honored to have an international real estate expert and economist to give us his perspective on the commercial real estate market. So we're really thankful for our Luncheon sponsor, Stuart Title, for putting this together for us. And I'm confident that the information that Dr. Ted Jones will share with us today will be a big benefit as we continue to provide excellent service and value to all of our clients. So thank you, Dr. Jones. I don't think he's on yet, but I'll thank him again in a second. And thank you, Cindy Bilby, for your leadership and for making today possible. I'd also like to thank our local board of directors at the Greater El Paso CCIM chapter for their continued efforts in these times and their work to provide member benefits to our local membership. So thank you to everybody that serves on the board. Really appreciative for your time and energy that I know is more valuable than ever these days. So I don't want to waste too much time before we get to Dr. Jones's presentation, but I do want to provide a quick updates for you guys. Firstly, your board of directors is hopeful that we can resume in-person events at some point. So we continue to wait for our government leaders and health experts to provide the direction on when it is safe to do so. We will enact social distancing protocols to the extent necessary. And so please keep a lookout for the details as those might come out once we start scheduling some in-person events. We are optimistic that our collective sacrifices over the past couple of months will put us in a place where we can get back to doing the good work of supporting all of our members and more generally, the local commercial real estate community to excel and achieve their desired goals. We were unable to host our first large fundraiser for the year at Cinco de Mayo, and we greatly missed the opportunity to spend that quality time with all of you guys. As you all know, that's one of our funnest events of the year. And so the fact that it just happened to be in the wrong part of the calendar where we weren't able to do it, I think is something that hurt us a lot personally from the organizational level and the people that put that together. But I'm sure you guys all missed that opportunity to build that camaraderie, spend time together, and of course, try the delicious margarita contest that we have every year. Because we were unable to host our first large fundraiser of the year at Cinco de Mayo, apart from the personal sadness of not being able to have that event this year, organizationally, it creates challenges from a budgetary perspective. So we hope that we can count on your support to help the chapter get past this difficult financial circumstance so that our mission is not negatively impacted. So thank you to our members and sponsors. Without you, there is no Greater El Paso CCIM chapter. I want to provide a quick update for those seeking their designation or wondering about the national meetings that are supposed to be held in Chicago this year. As far as the national meetings are concerned, at this point, they're still planning to proceed with those in October in Chicago. And so hopefully we get to a place in this country where we'll be able to travel and have that very valuable event this year. However, the designee comp exam and the cumulative concept review is scheduled to take place earlier than that. Usually that's held at the same time as the national meetings. This year, however, they're going to do the comp exam on August 3rd with CCR being held the last week of July. And so real quickly, I just want to show just a second. And hopefully you guys can see the stuff that I'm sharing here on the screen. So one thing that they've done in order to kind of adjust to COVID-19 is that they're going to do CCR virtually. So instead of having an in-person CCR where you do the review course before the comp exam, they're going to host that online. They're going to have 4 modules, so it's going to be spread out over 4 days instead of being all done in one day. And they're going to limit the course size to 40 students to allow for better interaction between the students, the candidates, and the course instructor. The exam will be held on, like I said, on August 3rd, and it will be held in 11 cities throughout the country, with Dallas, Houston, Las Vegas, and Los Angeles being the closest options to us. So being in El Paso, we're kind of centrally located between all of those locations. So you kind of, as a candidate, for the first time have a bunch of choices to choose from as far as where you'd like to actually sit for your comp exam, which I think is a pretty cool thing for us. If any candidates have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to myself, Carlene Barr, CCIM, your education chair, or Miguel Fraga, our EA. Hopefully we can clarify any questions that you might have regarding the comp exam or the national meetings. Last year, and something that we were really hoping to roll out with a lot more of a bang and in-person stuff, but we had a pretty big initiative that your board decided to undertake last year, and that's to update the website for the chapter. As many of you know that have gone through the process of building a website, it can be quite cumbersome, takes a lot of work and a lot of effort and energies. And so I'm happy to announce, and hopefully you guys have seen the emails that went out about this, but happy to announce that we have a new website, completely refreshed. I welcome you to visit www.elpasocccim.org to see the fruits of our collective labor. I want to give a very special recognition and thank you to the committee that led this initiative and put this together, led by Candace Kufmanalis from Cushman Wakefield and Pires International, our past president, Elizabeth Polido, CCIM, and our current vice president, Patrick Gordon, CCIM. Thank you all so much for all the work that you did and working with Evolve on building this website. It looks phenomenal. I hope that the members really enjoy it and are able to find the information that they're looking for a lot easier. And hopefully they also appreciate the updated sleek design that was able to be put into that website. So thank you all for your dedication and valuable leadership and work efforts to make this new website a reality. And especially Candace, thank you so much. And is Candace on? I'm not sure if she's on or not, but thank you so much, Candace, for leading the charge and for the countless hours you spent on this. I know how appreciative the board of directors is of you and your committee's efforts, and I'm hopeful that our members will enjoy and be equally as appreciative of the work that you did and the valuable information that you were able to get onto the site. And so, without any further ado, I'd like to get to the good stuff. First, we have our event sponsor, Cindy Bilby, president of the El Paso division for Stewart Title. So if we can unmute Cindy.
Hello, hello.
Yes.
Hi, everybody.
Thank you.
So Memo, are you turning the torch over to me for a bit, or? Ready? Okay. All right. Thank you, Memo. Thank you very much for allowing Stewart Title to be the sponsor today for the lunch. It's been an incredible time. 2020 started out to be great with great activity. And while we saw an initial slowdown in April, May has changed all of that. Year to date, we're working about 125% of capacity. That's 125%. In May alone, we were at 145% capacity with new contracts and closing volumes, primarily in the residential sectors of new construction, and resale really came alive in May with a lot of the higher end homes selling. Commercial has been less than robust at this stage. So we're grateful for the resurgence of the resale market and the new construction market. Challenge has been to run at 145% capacity with half of your staff working off-site and keeping a high-touch feel with a no-touch service level, while implementing safety measures and educating staff and customers alike about safety protocols, the hows and the whys of how to go about doing business in this new age. This is a time of huge shifts, drawing on creativity and solutions, and huge doses of patience and forward thinking. We've absorbed at Stewart Title over $10,000 in notary fees just in May and April alone. We're doing that to safely do remote closings. And frankly, it's safer for our staff and it's safer for the customers. So I've told my staff, if you feel safer doing that, by all means, let's do it. Your safety is well worth the investment. We've also spent even close to $20,000 in additional equipment, creating safe environments for customers, employees, with all the CDC, the state and the city guidelines and protocols taken into consideration. We've adapted in-office closings with video conferencing capabilities in all of our closing rooms and facilities for drive-up and outdoor closings. We do hospital-grade disinfecting services at all of our locations on a regular basis. Hi, Ted. How are you? We provide personal protective equipment for every customer and every employee and every office. That's been a huge part of our expense, but believe me, it's an investment in all of our safety, and all of our health and our ability to continue for all of us to do the jobs that we need to do to keep the economy going. Again, we want to provide a high-touch service level that we are known for at Stewart Title in an environment with absolutely no touch. And I'd like to give a shout out to the Stewart Title Associates that are able to join us today. And I see Ted joined. Yay, Ted.
Greetings.
Hello. These are the good people that are making this happen and taking it upon themselves to be leaders in creating the safety protocols and making them happen, because it's not easy. People come to the door and we say, please wear a mask. We say, please signers only. And it's hard for us to say no. We are not conditioned or grown to say no. So we're doing it in the best and the most friendly way that we can do it. What we want is your deal to close. We want you guys to be out there safely creating deals so that we have something to close. So Sawyer, I see you there. I'm going to go down through the list. Sawyer Sykes is there. Give a wave,
Hey,
Sawyer. Melanie Jones, she's our manager in our commercial department.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Memo.
And Gabriella, aka Gabby. Gabby.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. So was Ron able to join us?
Unfortunately, he's not finished with his appointment. It was at 11:30. We were hoping he'd be done, but not yet.
Not yet. Well, Ron is the king of the curbside closing. You know, he's amazing to me. He's probably a generation beyond me. I'm not going to give you my age or his, but he has adapted in such a great fashion. He's just amazing and inspiring to work around. So yay, Ron. Sorry you can't join us, but I totally understand. Stewart Title thanks our CCIM and its members for keeping the economy moving in creative ways, for working through tough situations with tenants, deals put on hold, and yet still having a spirit of optimism and a hope for the future. We are pleased to bring Stewart Title's chief economist, Ted C. Jones, to El Paso again, although he really wanted to be here in person. Man, he pressed hard, and he's still pressing. He wants to come, and maybe August. There's a couple
I'll
of
be
venues.
there. I'll be there. Trust me.
We're looking at several venues that can be socially distanced and still create a good environment of opportunity, questions and answers, and personal interactions. So we're looking forward to your facts and your forecasts for our market here in El Paso or greater area of El Paso and for our global economies. So thank you, and back to you, Memo.
Thank you, Cindy. I'm having some computer issues. So Miguel, can you take over and pull up the presentation? I don't want to have to restart my computer in the middle of this.
Yes, give me 1 second. There you go. Can you see my screen now?
Just a second, guys. Bear with me. Okay, here we go. Okay, great. Thank you, Cindy, so much. And thank you for all of the efforts that you guys have put into place and that you've undertaken to allow us to continue to close deals and to keep business moving forward and to get people into their homes and everything. I know it's nobody was prepared for this, and the way that you guys have responded is really just absolutely amazing. The safety levels that you've put into place and the customer service that y'all are implementing or providing is just absolutely great. So thank you so much for not just for your role here as our luncheon speaker and our board member, but for everything you've done with Stewart Title. Thank you. And I would like to welcome Ted C. Jones, PhD. He is the Chief Economist and Senior Vice President for Stewart Title Guarantee Company. Ted drives Stewart's ongoing financial analysis and applied real estate research, and his expertise is well established among our stockholders, associates, and customers. An accomplished speaker, he typically gives more than 150 presentations on real estate and the economy each year. During his career, Ted has completed numerous mass appraisal assignments, including more than $3 billion of income-producing property owned by the FDIC, retail properties, hotels, motels, offices, commercial land, multifamily housing, residences, and numerous other special use properties. So needless to say, no matter what side of the business we're in, Dr. Jones has plenty of experience in our respective fields. Dr. Jones completed a study on the Resolution Trust Corporation's impact on real estate values and even testified before the Public Company Accounting Oversight Board. Ted received a Bachelor of Science degree in Agricultural Economics from Colorado State University. He went on to earn a PhD in finance with a minor in statistics and a master's degree in land economics and real estate from Texas A&M University. He subsequently served as chief economist at A&M's Real Estate Center, the nation's largest publicly funded real estate research group. Prior to this role, Ted authored and taught the valuation and appraisal section of the Bachelor of Commerce in Valuation and Property Management at Lincoln College, the University of Canterbury in Christchurch, New Zealand. An internationally recognized real estate expert, Ted has completed appraisals and property analysis in New Zealand, Australia, Canada, Mexico, the United Kingdom, and of course, the United States. He is a past member of the board of directors of the National Association of Realtors, the Texas Association of Realtors, and the Houston Association of Realtors. And he's also served as chairman of the board of the Houston Association in 2004. So welcome, Ted. Thank you so much for making time for us today. And the floor is yours, sir.
Well, my pleasure. I'm gonna click a screen share if I can here. Share my screen. Can see, there we go. And this will stop other screen. Do you want to continue? Yes. And we're going to talk about this. By the way, Cindy's going to have a copy of this PDF shortly afterwards. So, and y'all can always email her or question her if you have any questions you need to get taken care of. All right. So every year I come up with a new speech topic in October for the next year. And last year I picked this thing, The Beat Goes On, because it was an election year. And I thought, what a great time, you know, Sonny and Cher's great song, The Beat Goes On. It's about change. What changes, what stays the same, who knew who was going to win president or anything else like that, and what's coming. Who had an idea of what's to come this doggone pandemic? Now, this slide describes it all right here. Whatever you do, Marty, never set it to 2020. Who agrees with me on this one? Anyone else want to agree? Raise your hand. Yeah, there. I like that. Thanks, Mimo, on this one, guys. Social distancing. I made my office. I've only missed 6 days since the middle of March in our office here, but we have 15,000 square feet per floor on the space we rent in Houston. We have multiple floors in the building, but usually on this floor is the CEO, the CIO, the head of HR, and me. So our social distancing is good. Now, this was printed up in Australia. They're placards. Keep your distance at least one adult kangaroo apart. I did this for Laredo, Texas a month ago, and we all agreed that distance there is one adult rattlesnake apart, stretched out naturally. And of course, we got another guy in Florida. His is a mid-sized gator. You talk about all the social distancing. I love this one. And at least we're taking a sense of humor and the tragedy that's going on right now. This is an actual CVS store. Please distance yourself at least 6 feet apart or the average length of a CVS receipt. Now, if you got to laugh at this one, guys. And this one, now, not my kids, not my grandkids. In fact, even a kid at heart could do this. If you've got leftover Amazon Prime boxes and some duct tape or slick white tape, clear tape, you too can make an indoor luge racing track. Anyone done this? Not me, but I mean, I thought it was good. Oh, and this one, I don't even play golf, and I want to play golf pong. Now, I don't know. I didn't even know there was a golf pong thing, but I want to know how many times it took him to hit that. And if it was the first try, that'd be the miracle of all miracles. And then lastly, anyone doing homeschooling of their kids? I love this one. Feeling guilty about your kids watching too much TV? Just mute it and put on the subtitles. Boom! Now they're reading. I think it's kind of brilliant stuff and what we're doing on this one. Oh, and now, kind of like now, I don't know if you've seen this one or not. You will never look at a Zoom meeting ever the same again. So now you just watch it, just pour up the wine, put the little TV. Well, y'all get it. I don't need to go there. Who agrees with me? You'll never see a Zoom meeting the same as, well, I have my, I'm drinking iced tea, and full disclosure, and it's actual iced tea. I don't drink scotch or anything else like that. Cold beer is my game, but yeah, I like this one. All right, so let's talk about Sonny and Cher. You know, that great hit about what changes, what stays the same, what's to come. And you talk about great words. I don't mean la-di-da-di-da, la-di-da-di-dee. I mean these words. These words are about change. Charleston was once a rage. Now, we still dance, we just don't Charleston. I want to talk to every one of y'all commercial practitioners, and I want you to take you back to the day, which was less than 20 years ago. Big brokerage companies, even small ones, they had a room full of file cabinets with a folder for every building in town. Am I correct? And every time you get a brochure, a bulletin, or update, it went in that folder. And very often you had some offices more than one full-time assistant that would go pull those folders and keep them updated when you got to work on something. You know, that's all computerized now, but you still sell real estate. That's the thing that doesn't change. But how you're doing it's better because you're not chasing paper. History changes everything every day. Oh, and this is going to push us, like Cindy was talking, further down the road on drive-by, drive-through, and remote closings, remote online notary, the whole works. Their song, again, going back to words, history's turned the page. Guys, the oldest millennials this year turned 40. Now, you can beg off being an adult millennial when you're in your 30s, but when you're 40, it's game over, game done, set, match, game point, the whole works. I love these words from 1967. The mini skirt's the current thing. I hope I live long enough for mini skirts to come back. That's all I can say. And lastly, teeny boppers, a newborn king, a lot of some millennials. Ugly slide number one. And one of my friends said, "You're the most politically incorrect person." I said, "I didn't think I was politically incorrect at all." They said, "He's defining political correctness as unkind words." So here's my unkind words. Unkind, but honest, number one. We're in recession, deepest recession you and I have been in our lifetimes. Recession is defined as 2 or more quarters of negative GDP. Didn't start one last year, as you can see. Now, I'm going to use Goldman Sachs forecast. I like Goldman because they change things when new information comes out. We all need to do that, folks. But Goldman says minus 6% in Q1. We're close to that. They said we're going to plunge 24% in Q2. That's April, May, June. Whoa. We've never had a 24% GDP plunge in the history of the United States. But here's Goldman right now. They're saying we turn the corner in Q3. They say we're actually turned positive. Now, you don't get back everything, but you're positive. And they're showing us down less than 4% of the year. My numbers show us down 10 to 14%. I'll take that. Now, I don't think we turn positive till Q4. But, guys, there's hope at the end of the tunnel. We're already open. I don't know how you are. I had traffic this week on the way to work. I haven't had traffic. One day I drove the 3 miles to and from my office to here and did not see another car on the road. Now, I'm not on an interstate or a loop or anything else like that, but guys, things are different. We're opening back up. So there we are in the recession. Now, here's good news. When they give the GDP, they release a preliminary number, a revised number, and a final number. This is the revised number. The Bureau of Economic Analysis says we're only down 5%, not even as much as Goldman thought we were going to be. That's good news. Now, we're not going to get back everything this year that we lost, but they're showing we'll at least turn positive. Now, I want to show you what happened to commercial real estate. What I've got here, but don't think it was a pandemic or seismic. Here's the last 2 pandemics, SARS and H1N1, and the last seismic event, 9/11. And we're going to look at annual data. And remember, those 2 blue boxes, that's when we had recession. So it's going to be hard to separate the pandemic from the recession. And in no way am I telling you that this pandemic's like the other ones. It's not. This one's a lot more vicious. We already know that. But look what happened in 9/11. And I will tell you all this. I don't know how you recall 9/11. Most impactful event of my life, I thought, until now. I didn't have any idea how we're going to get back to normal in a decade. We were back to normal in 6 months. So, it's going to be amazing how quickly we come back after, and we'll talk about that in a second. But commercial sales kind of, let's say they were flat through 9/11. They went up through after SARS. They plunged in 08. That's not because of H1N1. That's because of the recession. Oh, and they plunged which is a little different in '08 because in '08 we had no commercial lending capacity whatsoever. You couldn't borrow money to purchase a transaction, no matter how good of a deal, and you couldn't even borrow money to refinance a currently serviced loan. That's a little different today, unless it's leisure and hospitality. We're still seeing lending available in most aspects of real estate, but it depends on if it's leisure and hospitality. I'm going to touch it with a 10-foot pole. So, but did H1N1 impact that? No. Did SARS? No. Did 9/11? No. Here's commercial cap rates. And commercial cap rates, guys, that's a perfect risk premium. It's a measure of risk. Higher the cap rate, the greater the risk. It went down after 9/11, but it went down not because of 9/11. It went down because the recession was over. It went down through SARS. Now, SARS was a global pandemic, nothing like this one. It started going up in '08. That wasn't H1N1. It was the recession. It peaked in '09 and then went back down. I want to show you this. And I'm not going to tell you that swine flu is like coronavirus, but bear with me on this one. We forgot about swine flu, and it was pretty severe. Get this one. 60.8 million Americans got swine flu. We got a little over 1 million right now that have coronavirus. I'm not comparing the two, don't get me wrong. We have now a vaccine for swine flu. We don't for coronavirus. 274,000 Americans were hospitalized because of H1N1. 12,500 Americans perished. Now, let's talk coronavirus. And these are numbers for this morning. And when I talk about coronavirus, I'm going to be full disclosure. It has impacted my family. Oldest daughter, her husband, they have 2 daughters, 2 of my granddaughters. Husband got it, granddaughter got it. Granddaughter at the age of 6 recovered in about 5 days. Son-in-law took him a month. Now, they live in the Pacific Northwest. What was amazing, though, is that my daughter and the other granddaughter, didn't get it. All live in the same home, folks. So it's not as communicable as you think it is. Secondly, look at this number for the world. Let's round it off. 6.5 million people have had coronavirus. I say bull. It's millions more. Tell me how many millions of people had coronavirus, didn't know they had it, weren't even sick enough to go to the doctor. Chunks, folks. Oh, and then, well, we know it's understated. We know China lies like my dog Scruffy lied. Scruffy was a dog we got from the pound when he was six weeks old. I'm an early morning person. I was up at 4 this morning. If Scruffy was still alive, I had to feed him to shut him up. But he would have presented himself to you like he hadn't eaten in 2 weeks. And I know the second I walked out of the house and the wife woke up, he presented to her he hadn't eaten in 2 weeks. We ate a second breakfast. And I know when the daughters woke up, they did that to them. And lion, Scruffy dog, and that describes China. Why do I know their life? Well, China claims, in Wuhan, when it came from there, I don't care what you want to say. I don't care about political correctness. China claims only 83,000 Chinese ever have caught coronavirus. And I say bull to that. Big lie. Lion, Scruffy dog lie. But there's some good news here. When I say this, it's good news, but not what you think I'm going to say. Let's say that China didn't lie by 100% or 200%, like double or triple. Let's say they lied by a factor of 10. 1,000% lie, big scruffy dog lie. What's good about that? Well, instead of 83,000, that means they've had 830,000 cases. And how can I call that good news? Because China has 1.4 billion people. If only 830,000 people ever had it, that's 0.6%. It's not nearly as communicable as you think it is. Just kind of like my daughter and her husband, he had it, she didn't. Granddaughter had it, the other granddaughter didn't. Oh, and lastly, notice that link on the bottom. If you go to that, you're going to see coronavirus cases for the world by country, new cases, the new deaths, the whole works, a lot of statistics. You're going to see a unique country. It's called the Princess Horizon. I want to take you back to the beginning of March. A cruise ship left Japan with 3,700 crew and passengers beginning of March, and they didn't realize it, but they had people, when they got on board, had active symptoms of coronavirus. Now, you're on a 2-week cruise, and you already had people with active symptoms, so you can only imagine how many more people have been exposed to it. And when they got back after 2 weeks, they kept them on the dock for over 2 weeks, and now you've had 3,700 crew and passengers on the ship for over a month. And get this one, just a hair over 700 ever caught it, and only 9 perished. It's not as communicable as you think it is. Guys, can you imagine getting away from anyone on a cruise ship? Now, it's all about jobs. Good news. Well, good news. By the way, if we were talking about when it was job growth, we would be in the top 10 for the last year or last 5 years. If we're talking about job losses, we're the 12th worst, the 12th least worst, 12th best. If you want to call job losses the best, we just didn't lose as many jobs as the type of jobs we have. Now, I am going to be upfront with you all and honest. We are not as good business-wise environment as we think we are. Look at this one. Tax Foundation each year does a great big study. They look at 5 taxes. They're not for profit out of DC. They look at corporate income tax, personal income tax, retail sales tax, unemployment tax, and property tax. We're only the 13th best state in the country. There are 12 states that are better. And folks, it's 2 taxes. And we desperately need to do something about these 2 taxes. Everyone knows our property tax is ridiculous. Who wants to agree with me? Anyone want to do this with me here? Yeah. They claim we've had property tax reform. No, we haven't. And the second one is, I can remember 30 years ago when I was at Texas A&M at the Real Estate Center, had the head of Dow Chemical Real Estate come in our office. We were talking property taxes, but in the conversation I also learned that his name was Howard Ledbetter. He was actually looking for a new plant site. Now, I realized at that point in time, our largest plant in the country, I think, was in Victoria, Texas. I was going to go build a new Dow Chemical plant, a second one in Victoria. And he pulled out, in those days you had daytimers, pulled out his daytimer, and he says, no, 5 states we'll go to before we come to Texas. I said, hey, but we don't have a corporate income tax. He said, yeah. He says, but you only pay a corporate income tax when you make money. You have a state corporate franchise tax, and you have to pay that even when you lose money, and we don't like that. We need another tax reform on that one. Job losses, guys, 41,100 in the last 12 months. But here's the unique thing about El Paso. You look on the right-hand side where that arrow goes down that side, you still have more jobs than we had before the last recession. In the last recession, you really didn't have one. You can see in 08, 09, 010, you dipped a little bit. U.S. hemorrhaged. You're probably one of the more bulletproof places for recession in the United States. And although you have lost a lot of jobs temporarily, you ever driven through a town? I remember I grew up in El Paso until 3rd grade. I still remember Chopi's up at the CN. Chico's Tacos and me are one. Got these tamales over in Piedras. Every time I'm there, I still go there and have green chili cheese, man. But think about this. When you ever drive through a town and wonder, what do these people do? So look at the green columns in the middle. It's called super sector analysis, and I'm going to grade you on this type of jobs you have. Look, and we're going to look at the green columns. That's February, because we've lost a lot of jobs, but not all jobs we lost, all types of jobs. Look in the U.S. In February, 15% of all jobs were government jobs, and you were 22.4%. Guys, I'll give you a blue line on this one because you have more government jobs. Why is that? Because in this downturn, governments are very slow to lay off people. Businesses are very quick to lay off people. So the more government jobs you had, the more protected you were. Now, the next one, leisure and hospitality, I give you kind of a pink. You're not first place. You're not quite as bad as second place. U.S. was 10.7% leisure and hospitality. Remember, we lost 50% of those in the last month. You were 11.5%, a little bit more in the U.S., but not bad. I'll show you how bad it can get. I give you a negative on education and health services, 16.3 to 15. I give you a negative on finance. Banks lost the fewest jobs of anyone in finance. And I give you a negative on manufacturing. Mind you, a lot of your manufacturing base is on the other side of the border. I understand that. Maquinadores, the old systems, everything else like that. This is going to be in the PDF that Cindy is going to have and our Stewart people. If you want to go to sleep tonight, you pop this slide up. Don't count sheep. Just look at this thing, type of jobs you have. Shows you have changed over the last 5 years and have you changed over the last 12 months. Here's those sectors, the winners and losers. Now notice, fewest number of lost jobs, finance, and then next one is government. Most lost jobs, leisure and hospitality. And I've got some good news for El Paso on this one. You don't have much leisure and hospitality. And even better than that, well, you have a little seasonality. This is percent of all your workforce is in leisure and hospitality. Okay, you go from high 11% to low 12% in June, July, August, and back in the 11s. Guys, why is that important? Because if you've lost half of all those jobs, or you're going to lose half of those jobs, if you have seasonality, if you have a high season coming up, you're not going to have one. You're good. That's not the issue. Here's Ocean City, New Jersey. Not only do they have double the rate of jobs in leisure and hospitality in the low months, they double that again in the high months. You talk about a city that's going to have a tough summer. They're not going to have a high season. El Paso, you're more year-round economy, guys. That's good news. Now, depending on where you live, here's one of the things going to help us out of this recession: cheap energy. Now, not a lot of oil and gas in El Paso. If you're living Midland, this is bad news, but great news for everyone else. Cheap energy is going to get us out of this quicker. Now realize this. If I wanted to benefit everyone in America, if I cut their income taxes, that only benefits half of all Americans. That's because only half of all American households pay any federal income taxes. So a tax cut, half the people. On the other hand, if I cut your energy bill, oil and gas, electricity, 99 out of 100 people benefit. Because the only people that don't benefit from cheap energy are those people that work at oil and gas. So we're seeing cheap energy. It's leaving more money in our pockets, folks, for most Americans. That's good news. Here's the scary part, though. And I'm using oil and gas as an example. Look at this. For year 2015, we're going to compare it to year 2019. In that 4-year period, our oil production, million barrels per day, jumped, rounded off, 40%. 37.8% becomes 40%. On the other hand, we're producing 40% more oil with 20% fewer workers, and I'm afraid in this downturn, we're going to do that with almost every kind of job we have. I'm just being upfront with y'all. I'm not blowing smoke, not going to give you feel-good stuff, folks. Going to tell you the truth. I'm afraid. Well, think about this one. We got 24% unemployed. Most of those people unemployed think they're temporarily unemployed. I'm afraid that they're not going to be temporarily unemployed. I'm afraid that if we don't get this economy started back up, those jobs go away. Remember, I think 2 out of 10 restaurants are going to be permanently closed. 1 out of 5, folks. That's a chunk. We talked about these restaurants. Okay, you're real estate people. There's not going to be someone else coming behind there to rent that space. Think about this one. This was from Wall Street Journal in April. Alignable did a survey of 1,100 small firms, 50 or fewer employees. That's a lot of restaurants that are 50 or fewer employees. They asked them, did you pay your April rent? 30% said none. 20% said part. Now, if those people go out of business, there's not going to be someone knocking on that door this next second taking that lease, folks. And this is what I'm looking at commercial real estate up front. Good news is low rates are helping us. Assuming you're not leisure and hospitality, you can still get a loan, assuming you still have a credit rating. Now, unlike the last downturn, we can still get commercial loans, but you're not going to get one on a hotel. I'm not sure you're going to get one on a new student dorm, new student housing. I think that's a little bit scary. It's still unseen whether students are going to actually go back in numbers. Not only are rates lower, I know these are residential rates, but just take a look here. Fannie Mae is forecasting the lowest 30-year rates of history this year and lower next year. Now that's going to help us out, but, well, I'll show you the 10-year treasury. Remember, every commercial deal is a 10-year treasury plus a risk premium for the property type and location and the investment group. It's the lowest they've been in history, so that's good news. But housing sales, great news for y'all. You're just blowing and going on housing sales. Now, El Paso is one of the very few realtor associations that did not report April housing sales yet. So we're kind of looking forward to those. But on the other hand, you're technically selling more houses at any point in time, and that's good news. Other good news, this is a unique one. It's a metric, and this one I'm using to talk about apartments. Am I worried about apartments in El Paso? And my answer is no. Or home values? My answer is no. And the reason is, had you overbuilt, I'd been worried. This is a metric I developed. In the last 7 years, you added 37,000 and change jobs you built. These are new units. Like one apartment's a unit, half of a duplex is a unit. Y'all get this. Apartment's a unit, a house is a unit. You added 23,000 and change new units. You got 1.6 new jobs per new unit. The only thing you need 1.25 to 1.5. I am not worried right now, other than temporary rent collections on the laid off people, but I'm not worried about your values crumbling on those. That's good news. I want to show you, I live in Houston. We only have 1 new job per new dwelling unit for the last 7 years. We overbuilt. In fact, our home values and rents were already going down here before the coronavirus started. Y'all need to understand. Look at another underbuilt market. I'll do the other extreme, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm. They got 3 new jobs per new dwelling unit. That didn't even include the people, retirees that move there that don't need a job. So you're not in an overbuilt market, and that's important to you. Now, commercial sales, and I'm not telling you this is like the '08 downturn, but it's worth taking a look back. Commercial real estate sales in the U.S. plunged 88% in 24 months to the peak in '07. Texas, unfortunately, Real Capital Analytics doesn't have total commercial sales for El Paso, so I'm including you in Texas. Yeah, we did the same. We did the same, folks. But we just set an all-time record. Now, part of this are cap rates. I got to ask y'all, you take a look at this. Would you, if I give you $1 million, would you rather buy the average $1 million deal in the U.S. or the average $1 million deal in Texas? I'll take Texas. Much better job growth. Only 12 states better income tax or tax-wise to do business in. I'll take Texas. Better growth, better potential. So that's one of the reasons we back up here. We set an all-time record. You think about in commercial real estate sales. But as a commercial appraiser, I got to come back to this. Value is equal to income divided by the cap rate. Our risks just rose. And for many properties, our incomes just dropped. And that can only equate to a reduction of value. Now, I know this is apartment list. Now, this apartment list is an online apartment rental website, kind of like Portal, kind of like Realtor.com to sell houses. They did this big survey in April and May, and they looked at, we don't have June numbers yet. This is beginning of April, beginning of May. They looked at the percent of people who either didn't make their rent payment or their home payment, and we doubled. We went from 12% not making their rent payment or home payment in April, and essentially doubled to 22% in May. That says income goes down. And of course, this is another one. Where we live now, let's talk apartment dwellers. I don't know how you've been home, but many of y'all live in big, of course, El Paso, big, expansive ranch type properties. Not a lot of two-story properties, a lot of single floor, nice space, the whole works. You're going to feel different if you just had to go up and down an elevator or 3 flights of stairs with 100 other tenants every day, and you're going to go to a single-family dwelling. Even Green Street Advisors thinks that the single-family rental market will outperform the apartment market. And I'm not worried about the apartment market. I'm going to tell you that right now, particularly in Texas. If I were in New York, I'd be worried about the apartment market. But we're not looking at the excess that they're looking at. It's real different on that one. This, again, last downturn, I'm not going to tell you this downturn is like the last one. These are cap rates nationwide by property type. Peak to trough, look at the all over there. Basically what it said, in the last downturn, we saw a 10% reduction in values just from the increased cap rate alone. How many of y'all think you're seeing increased cap rates now? Anyone from the risk? Not many. Got some hands going up. There we go. Well, Green Street Advisors, they came out and they said in the past 3 months, commercial values on average across the country dropped 10%. Shopping malls, 25%. That would not surprise me whatsoever. Mobile home parks, manufactured home parks, not at all, not even negligible. I think that's probably true. I think a lot of people would rather live in their own manufactured home than an apartment, and cost alone, that type thing. I do want to show you what happened in these. We're going to relate everything to this, the quarterly stuff in '07. Texas commercial sales, as you can see, we dropped 89.3% from first quarter of '07 to the first quarter of '09. Are we seeing that again? Yeah, we are. Now, my company doesn't report order counts preliminary before the quarter end when we're traded on the New York Stock Exchange. One of my competitors does. They're showing a big decline. They're showing a big decline in the order counts on commercial transactions as time goes on and in the dollar volume. That's going to be tough. Is it going to be bad this time as last time? We don't know. Now, one of the things that's different about this time, and I want to talk about the good news on this one. Good news is, I think the two people trying to stimulate us out of this are probably the best two people in the world we could have doing this. And the good news is because they're not politicians. One of them is Mnuchin, the Secretary of the Treasury. Remember, Mnuchin was a Wall Street guy that managed billions of dollars of money. And the other one's Powell, Chairman of the Federal Reserve. Why do I like those two people? Because they're business people. Never been government employees, thank God. Never been politicians, thank God. And you need a business person that understands. Here's what we didn't understand last time, because we hadn't had this in 08 and 09. This economy is like an aquarium of expensive tropical fish that sprung a leak. First sense of urgency is you got to stop the leak. If not, they're all dead. And let's talk about Mnuchin and Powell. What they did, think about this. Powell, chairman of the Fed, in the first 30 days provided more liquidity to our banking system and lending system and economy in 30 days than both the administration and the Federal Reserve did in all of 2009 and 2008. Sense of urgency. Think about payroll protection program and everything else. So there is more going on. Enough more? Well, I want to tell you that there's a great sense of urgency to start filling that aquarium back up with water. Fish didn't die yet, but we got to keep it going up or we're going to be too crowded, so to speak. I want to now throwing in Florida hotels. I'm just going to give you an example of leisure and hospitality. I'd show you Texas hotels. We just don't have as many hotels in Texas. Think about all the mouse land and everything else that goes on in Florida. Look at hotel sales, down 92%. Took them 8 years to recover on this one, folks. I think we're gonna, if you and I were doing the same thing on the commercial side right now, we'd kind of start pinching our pennies a little bit on running your budget. Because now, I happen to, like I said, I'm in my office right now. Y'all can take a look around, 15,000 square feet this floor, 4 or 5 of us here today. But look, now the other thing too, we're still running 100%. All the people that used to be on this floor 60 days ago are still doing their jobs. They just don't need their office to do it. I think we forever reduce the demand for office space needs. Cornet, you may be a member. 51% of its members said they expect their companies to cut back their footprint in the next few years. 3/4 of CFOs said they're going to bring fewer and fewer people in the office. I think we've just changed the way we do business, folks. Now, that said, even retailing, how we do business is different. Some property is going to win. You are a town with a great industrial property market. Look at April of 2020 retail sales. Total retail sales down 16.4%, largest drop in history. Grocery store sales. How could grocery store sales go down? Because we bought so much crap in March. We bought a 7-year supply of toilet paper in March. I'm not sure you're supposed to laugh at that one. I didn't understand the hoarding of toilet paper. Furniture down 59%. Electronic clothing, non-store sellers 8.4%. How about this one? Walmart, same store sales the first quarter up 10%. E-commerce sales up 74%. That is all industrial property. Y'all get it? That's got to be the glowing gem in your market right now are industrial properties. So let me wrap this thing up, and then we'll take some questions. Guys, we're looking at a short and deepest recession you and I have seen in our lifetime. If Goldman's right, we're out in Q3, not back, but no longer going deeper, coming back some positive, back all the way, maybe years, I don't know, but some positive. That's great news. Good news is we entered this downturn with more jobs than any time in history and the best wage growth we'd seen in 10 years. And even better news for El Paso, and I just got off the line speech prior to this one in Chicago, and trust me, it wasn't the same speech. Your economy seems to be more resilient and resistant to downturns than the rest of the U.S. You know, you're, like I say, you're equal distance between LA and Houston. You're the global services center for a massive region, including parts of Mexico. Guys, we entered this thing with the best wage growth in 10 years and more jobs. Helping us out is going to be record low interest rates. Refinance, folks. Put some money in your pockets right now. Cheap energy, unless you're in the energy business, it's going to win. Although I did notice just a minute ago on CNBC running up in my office that we're looking at $36 oil in the futures for next month. That's not bad. But remember, to drill a new well, we need $52 a barrel oil. We need $30 a barrel oil just to keep producing current wells up to date, according to the Dallas Fed. Manufacturing, great news. We're just going to make a lot more stuff here. We already are. Think about all the face masks we're making. Think about all the personal protection equipment. We made respirators, for heaven's sakes. Oh, and now let me show you this. I took this picture in Germany in 2005, and no, I did not eat at a McDonald's in Germany, but when I saw the drive-thru was named McDrive, I had to go take a picture. I thought that's brilliant. I think every drive-thru at a McDonald's in the U.S. ought to be named McDrive. Who else agrees with me on this? That's brilliant. That's just good stuff right there. And guys, I wouldn't own hardly a commercial property today without a drive-through. Like an apartment project, I think people would love to drive by their check, not walk in your office. But think about everything you've purchased. If it wasn't, think about this, if it wasn't curbside pickup or at-home delivery or in a grocery store, it was a drive-through. Am I correct? Cindy, you talked about our drive-through closings, drive-by closings. Here's a Stuart title. Now, I know it's a house, but think about this. Cindy is going to do this on a commercial deals too. This is a couple. You see our office in the background. This is a couple that did a virtual online purchase of a home, had never been inside of it other than virtually, drove by our office in a U-Haul truck, didn't get out of the vehicle, did their wet signatures, and they were done. Why is that important, y'all? Because it gives you more time, you, the real estate professional, to do what you do to earn money, what you do best. And I guarantee you that's not chasing papers. It's not even showing up to closings. Let's be honest about that. If you don't need to be there, sell the next deal, manage the next transaction, the management and everything else like that. One of our Texas offices, one of our Texas agents, guys, imagine that. So you're a title agency and you took over an old bank building and you got a drive-through and you always wondered, what the heck am I going to do with that teller drive-through? It's now called closing room number 1. Pretty amazing. Here's where we're going. So this is going to cause change. We're going to build a lot more stuff here, folks. I actually, in fact, if I were El Paso, because you are that corridor, that globally central located between 2 of 4 of the largest U.S. cities in the country, I think you're primed to make a lot more stuff in El Paso. Think about it. Over 70% of our pharmaceuticals are supply chain for pharmaceuticals are current source from China. That's going to be coming back here. I do believe that. We're just going to make, we're going to make more PPE, more face masks, more respirators, more pharmaceuticals. We're going to make more stuff, critical component stuff. Apple's going to make more components here. Remember, Apple was the first major retailer to close their retail stores, the Apple stores, but it wasn't just because they closed it so you wouldn't catch this stuff. They closed it because they ran out of stuff to sell because President Trump shut down all direct flights from China at the end of January. They had no more product. And that's not going to happen to Apple again, I guarantee you that. So I think we're all, you in particular, primed for this. It's going to hasten the paperless real estate transaction. Guys, absolutely amazing. Think about this, remote online notaries, remote closings. I've done one, I'll show you in a minute. Remote appraisals. Cindy, you talked about that. I appraised $3.1 billion income producing real estate in 1990 for the FDIC. Those properties are located in Salt Lake City, Denver, Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston, San Antonio, El Paso, and Phoenix. I appraised $3.1 billion in real estate, didn't go into one building. Now, they had an MAI appraisal done on every one of those properties too. 18 months later, they sold them all. My number out of mathematical equations was more accurate than the individual MAI appraisals who they'd been through them and took months to do the appraisals. How about that? We're going to do more and more appraisal like this. Drive through everything, folks. Office demand permanently down. Oh, and I think we're still going to need offices, don't get me wrong. But I think they're going to be a little different. Cubicles, maybe not so much. Think space, creative space, much more important. And I'm not talking WeWork or anything else like that. Maybe something we haven't invented yet, I don't know. On the other hand, I think our demand for industrial properties is permanently up. We're going to manufacture more stuff. We're going to sell more stuff. Everything you buy that's not coming from a retail storefront and you don't walk out of the store with or delivered out of that retail storefront, it's delivered from industrial property, and that is massive growth. And we're just going to make a lot more pharmaceuticals and everything here, and we're going to store a bunch of stuff. We're going to now have strategic supply reserves around the country of PPP, personal protection equipment, and that type of thing. I'm willing to bet they even have some warehouse, someplace that's going to store toilet paper for the next, well, who knows about that one. Leisure and hospitality, ground zero, folks. That is going to be a wild recovery. Oh, and while you're going to have some great buying opportunities, I don't know if you can get a loan. Although we're already seeing a group of opportunistic funds putting billions of dollars together to go ahead and buy out some of this stuff cheap. CBRE did a study back in April, and what they found out was that 60% of the hotel properties had less than 60 days of reserves. That means to make their mortgage payment and pay their power bill, 2 months, they're done. and that 70% were planning to close. A couple of weeks ago, I drove up to Dallas to speak to our commercial group there. And our office in Dallas downtown is 1717 Main. And I usually stay over at the Hilton, or I stay at the Doubletree or Hilton Garden Inn. The Hilton and Doubletree were closed. The night, it was a Sunday night that I stayed at the Hilton Garden Inn, and I'll never forget this. There were 4 out of hundreds of rooms that were occupied that night. 4. How do you even keep your doors open? At ground zero. Well, prices are being low. 99.5% of consumers win, 0.5% don't. And the last thing on this commercial, I don't know how many of y'all are already changing your lease terms. I don't think we have ever had considered impact on commercial leases. What do you do if they can't make the payments? Force majeure stuff's going to come into play. My closing, I own one of those properties. You need to go to St. John, U.S. Virgin Islands. 60% of it's national park. 4th building from the left downstairs, 2 of the units own, 1 downstairs. Guys, when I purchased this thing, I did everything through a DocuSign. Now get this. A couple from Texas, my wife and I, we've owned property there since the 80s, offered on a property in St. John, Virgin Islands, owned by a couple from New Jersey who were vacationing that day in Italy. 21 minutes start to finish using DocuSign on an iPad, all done. The only time I signed my name was almost a month after closing. My attorney said when I was in St. John the next trip, he said, I'll give you a memory stick, a thumb drive of your closing docs if you sign here that you took possession of it. How about that? Things change. Oh, and lastly, I'm not worried about us coming back. We will. It's painful. Like I said, in 9/11, I thought it would be a decade till we came back. 6 months later, we were back to it. I don't think it's going to be 6 months now, but we'll be back to it. But one of our Stewart ladies took this from her balcony. She and her husband have a great condo overlooking the cruise ship harbor in Tampa, Florida. Notice on the balcony lights, they wrote in there, "We will be back." Our country will be back, guys. We're the best country in the world. I have no doubt about this. But I will make this statement. We don't get back to normal until you can walk on a crowded airplane, a packed elevator, or a Dallas Cowboys football game in person and not worry about it. But let me give you good news. Today, the New York Stock Exchange, for those of us that are traded on the exchange, I get a daily push from them, a morning push before the market opens. They noted in there that Wuhan, China, and they've tested every person in Wuhan for coronavirus. That's millions. They have had no new cases whatsoever, and they have 300 people that are carriers with no symptoms they have identified. There's hope here, guys. And there's hope down the line. With that, I'm good for any questions that you have or anything else you want. How's that sound?
Great presentation, Dr. Jones. Thank you so much. A lot of
Friends,
good.
friends call me Ted. You can call me Ted, man.
Sounds good, Ted. Anybody have any questions for Dr. Jones here? Go ahead and unmute yourself so we can hear you.
I do.
Go ahead.
Ted, I'm just curious if you're seeing any trends yet for the states that have opened up versus not. I mean, obviously more activity in the ones that have not, but any reoccurring themes there? Anything too early to tell?
You know, one of the good things is I wrote a blog last week, and I have another one that's going to be posted in the morning. 24/7 Wall Street did 2 studies. The one that last week is states. And they've even noted what they did is they tracked the average number of new cases per day per 100,000 population. Last week was all 50 states. Now I have the 50 cities that are the largest. And lo and behold, those that have opened up quicker, and Texas is one of those, the only one that hits that list of top 50 is Amarillo. So good news is we're not seeing that second wave as much as they thought, but we just don't know yet. But so go to blog.stewart.com and you can look at the one from last week on the states. If you go there in the morning, you can look at the one on the top 50 cities that have the most total number of cases per 100,000 people of coronavirus.
Thank you.
You bet. Good question. Great question.
Ted, John Martin.
Hey, John. Greetings.
Greetings. How are you?
Good.
Good. Hey, it seems like the banking industry is totally focused on SBA lending, PPP, and they have spent all of their time and attention over the last 60 days plus on those programs. Very little in the way of demand for commercial loan. I had a banker tell me the other day that I don't even know how you value a cow, much less an apartment or anything else. Where do you see commercial bank activity in the next 6 to 12 months in Texas?
If you're talking on the lender side, I think the lending side is going to be driven by the people that want to buy and sell. The only people that want to sell right now are the highly motivated sellers that, let's be honest, unless you have no choice right now, you're not a seller. Am I correct? Yeah. So then, so anything we're going to look at is going to be completely distressed. And I think a lot of that, John's going to be hotels. I said up front, one person in the United States of America I could think of that's probably hit worse than any other person. There's a guy from Houston, Texas. His name's Tillman Fertitta. You may know Tillman. He owns the Houston Rockets. He owns the Golden Nugget casinos in Louisiana, Atlantic City, and Las Vegas. He owns Morton Steakhouse and Joe's Crab Shack. He owns all of the aquariums in the country, almost, I think, that are for profit with restaurants. Can you think of anyone who's more hit personally than that person? The answer is no, but I'm willing to bet Tillman's going to survive. I do notice that they did tell me that he went out and got, well, I read this in the Houston Business Journal. He went out and borrowed $250 million. He was losing $2 million a day, even though he shut down the bare bones operations and everything. Losing $2 million a day, he borrowed $250 million, and the bank charged him 12% per year. Wow. So if you want to get an idea how, he got a lot of assets too, and he had $500 million in cash on his own on hand. And so, yeah, I think we're going to see anything that's being sold right now. It's a highly motivated seller, distressed seller, and banks are going to risk. I like Keith Barlow is a good friend of mine. He's a great appraiser from Midland, Texas. He says, I just want to know all the adjustments to make on every property from the sales I had pre-coronavirus. And I can't think of any place being worse hit than think about Midland. Coronavirus and $20 barrel oil at that point in time. And so those are the things, John, we don't know, and that's the uncertainty and the risk we have. So I think more of this on the banking side is a function of buyers just don't want to buy right now and take the risk unless they got cash and capital to do it. I've got a weekly call with two bankers nationwide, one in Houston that does big commercial lending, and one on the East Coast in New York. And here's what the last statement was, and the first statement on both of them. In fact, this was around the 1st of April when I talked to them both the first time. We will not touch a leisure and hospitality. If you've got something that even if it has a subway in it, we're not interested, because we know that's a vacant space. That's what he said. It's up front. He said, on the other hand, if you got an office project, if it's a AAA corporation rated with the guarantee behind it, you bet. We'll do that. He says, the other stuff's pretty risky. And he says, if it's an apartment project, and if you got, if the guy's putting 40% equity, we're not going to worry about it, because we know for the next year or two, we may have rent collection issues, but that's not an issue. So you talk about each one of them's individual. What was unique, both of them said, I said, what's different lending, this is in April, today than it was a month ago? And they both said, well, it's taken us about a week longer just to look at it because we have so much more paperwork to do. So that complexities, risk management within the banking systems come into play. They have to. I mean, they don't want to be sitting there holding non-performing loans. On the other hand, guys, we saw wealth printed in the downturns in the past, and there are going to be people out of this one that are going to print money once again, and I do believe that.
Thank you.
Ted, what do you see as the short-term and long-term impacts of the amount of debt that the federal government issued to keep a lot of us afloat?
All right, so actually, I'm not as worried about this. Let's talk short-term again, but that's another great question. Now, in the last downturn, 08, 09, at that point in time, we saw the cheapest interest rates you'd ever seen, but our government failed to take advantage of it. Right now, cheapest 30-year mortgages we've ever seen, and the government selling 30-year mortgages. Back in 09, cheapest 30-year rates we'd ever seen, and the administration at that point in time decided to borrow money at 1, 2, 3, and 5-year treasuries. And the reason was those are lower rates, but only for 1, 2, or 3, or 5 years. And when rates go up, it really hurt the economy. They are funding everything now with 20 and 30-year treasuries. And that's great news because they're locking in. Think about this. 30-year rates, I just showed you that treasury a few minutes ago, below 1.5%. We think inflation's 1.5%. President Trump said it true when he said, I think we're borrowing money for free. I think we are. After you adjust for inflation, you're paying back the same or less than you borrowed over 30 years. I would love right now, if you had my druthers, I'd love to sell 30 $1 trillion treasuries for 50 years at less than 2% interest and not even look back for the next 20 years or 10 years on any debt. Just refinance everything and just take care of it. Have the money on hand to refinance the other stuff when it comes due, because we may never see an opportune time like this. Last time we did not take advantage of it. So that's stage one. That's a good question on that one. Not worried at all. Stage two, ooh, you could have massive inflationary potential when this economy turns because there's so much money out there. And here's why. I remember I told you I like Mnuchin, the Secretary of the Treasury, so much, and I like Powell. Powell has already shown. What I like about Powell is he doesn't listen to the president. He does. He's a business person. He's an attorney. He does big financial deals. Powell understands that inflation, the worst thing that ever happened to commercial real estate in years of my lifetime was in the late 70s, early 80s, was called stagflation. Stagnant economy, which means less demand for your properties every day, and inflation, even if you didn't have a tenant, it cost you more to hold and own that property. Worst thing that ever happened. And that's what you'll have if your economy comes back and you get this massive inflation. And Powell's already shown himself, and he'll get criticism. The first thing this economy does when it starts to turn, he's going to pull that money out of the economy and raise rates. And you're going to grumble that rates are going up. Hey, that's okay. We won't have that inflation you're worried about. Great question.
Who else has a question?
Any other questions?
Any questions, comments, critiques on his lack of political correctness? I know Ted always welcomes the critiques too, right, Ted?
Well, to me, political correctness, I'm disgusted with all politicians. To me, political correctness is telling you news that you don't want to hear. Yeah, that's political incorrectness to me. So I'm politically incorrect. But on the other hand, I'm disgusted with every politician that's ever walked the earth. We'll go from there.
That's what I like about you. You tell it like it is. A lot of truth to all of that. So Ted's going to also be at RCA tomorrow at 8:30. So if you have some questions in the meantime that you come up with, feel free to join us then. And I wanted to put a shout out to one other associate, Patricia Alvedras. She was here earlier, and I wanted to say hello to her and thank her for joining us. She too has been a glue of keeping everything together at all of our offices. So thank you, Patricia.
One last question for Ted. Is he still there?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, sir. I guess you've been watching CNBC a lot, talking about Tillman Fertitta. He's had a lot of FaceTime there. Is there any REITs that you like right now?
Oh, I like industrial properties. And you know what? My favorite apartments are not Class A apartments. My favorite apartments are B and C apartments, and there's a reason for this. I own some B and C, full disclosure. I like B and C apartments because we haven't built one in 20 years. Any new apartments we built for the last 20 years, our land costs have been high, so we build luxury Class A apartments. We build granite or white countertops. You know what I'm talking about. Granite countertops, hardwood veneers, all that kind of stuff. Guys, the average worker, we're talking Formica countertops and vinyl floors. And we haven't built those properties in 20 years. In fact, we've tore down many of those properties because they've been in great locations. Love both those kind of property types, guys. Just love them. Favorite ones I have, both of them industrial up front and B and C apartments. Man, doesn't get any better than that.
Appreciate the tip. Thank you.
Great advice. Any other questions? Great questions, guys. Thank you for your questions. Great questions. Anybody else? Ted, thank you so much again for your time. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning at RCA. This will pretty much wrap up today's Zoom session, unless anybody has any questions for us here at the local chapter level. If there's no other questions, just want to remind you guys that CCIM is continuing to offer all of their courses online. So if you're interested in taking this time that you're maybe not in the office or maybe not as busy as you'd otherwise be in under normal times, there's a plenty of coursework out there that you guys that's available to you guys. I just chat messaged everybody a link to all of those courses so you can have those. And speaking with Carlene, it looks like we're getting closer to starting to reschedule some of our in-person classes for later this year. So we're still going to work through some of those details and whatnot. And so be on the lookout for some of those announcements for some of our local classes. But other than that, just thank you again, Cindy, so much for everything. Jeanette, thank you so much as our committee chair for putting this together and for the agenda and everything. So Ted, again, appreciate your time, your information.
Honor and privilege.
Thank you for localizing that information and allowing us to have something that we can put into practice right away. So thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. God bless and Godspeed. Be well. Be safe.